Hey everybody, welcome back to another Amateur Hour Sports podcast. My name is Jacob. I've got Deshaun with me today to talk about the Blue Jays, as it was requested earlier in the week to talk about what the Blue Jays are doing with their offseason, what we think of their management. And Deshaun, I guess, is the baseball expert for the show, so we brought him on to talk about this today. Deshaun, how do you feel about the Blue Jays offseason thus far?
This is the best offseason that the Jays have had since Anthopoulos went out and traded for Emilio Bonifacio and all those guys and R.A. Dickey. Literally, I think that was 2012.
How do you put Emilio Bonifacio as the headliner?
I put him as the headliner because that season he had 8 errors in his first 10 games as the Blue Jays second baseman, and he was absolute garbage, and he was supposed to be really, really good, and he just never put it together. But I put that there because that is the big.
There were other big players.
No, Jose Reyes was there. There were huge. I know there were huge players. We got.
Didn't
Jose
they get
Reyes
Mark Burley in that one too?
We got yes, we did. We got huge players.
So we got Burley and Reyes. Yet you say, the Bonifacio trade.
Because the one that I remember the most is Bonifacio.
I just.
Man, you asked.
What the hell are you talking about?
You asked me who I think what I think, and that's just what I think of it. I just think we haven't had a move as big as since we acquired Emilio Bonifacio,
No, you're right. It's just he's not the headliner of that trade.
I just...
what the hell, man?
Mark Burley, absolutely, he went on to pitch a couple years of 200 innings. Jose Reyes also is really bad defensively, but a huge energy guy. Hit the top of the order. I really liked Jose Reyes as well. I favored him. R.A. Dickey never put it together here in Toronto.
Mm-hmm. Well, he had 1 year.
He had 1 year, and he won
a Cy Young, and that was it.
And he never really put it together here in Toronto. We left him off our postseason roster, and then he was done. But yeah, anyways, this offseason was the best offseason I've seen in acquiring talent outside of the organization since that offseason.
Yes.
Okay.
100% agree.
Hyun-jin Ryu, obviously ERA leader and top 3 in the Cy Young last year in the NL. Top 2 in the Cy Young last year. He's been really, really good, minus the injuries. But he's been really, really good for LA. I think he'll be a positive player for us. I think what we needed was a starting pitcher. I mean, the Jays, Shapiro and Atkins have been debatable how they've been since they got here because they've kind of, we were in a playoff position when they first got here. Next thing you know, they traded a lot of our old guys for nothing.
I don't mind the rebuild.
I was going to say, so I don't mind the rebuild. I think it was time. I think you can only get by for so long with a 36-year-old Jose Bautista and 30-plus-year-old others.
We needed to reset. I mean, I'd call it sporting purgatory. That point where you're not bad enough to be, looking for a draft pick, but you're not good enough to be hunting for a playoff spot. You're right in that middle zone, just outside the playoffs.
The Jays did that for a decade.
And it's frustrating to be in that position. So I think it was the right decision to go forward with a rebuild. But I'm going to jump in. I think that they're not fully committing to a rebuild because guys like Stroman, that Stroman trade, you're trading for guys who probably won't ever get to the level of Marcus Stroman.
Agreed.
I don't see the necessity of trading Marcus Stroman.
I agree.
When he's that piece that's going to help you and be a catalyst in that rebuild.
I agree. We traded Stroman for a B-level prospect who at most will be a third starter in your rotation. I hate that. I look back at the trade and I'm man, Marcus Stroman, the thing with Marcus Stroman especially is he has a really, really good year where he's an ace, he's an all-star, he's an all-star last year. His ERA can be around 3, and then he'll have really bad years.
Oh yeah,
his ERA is 4.5.
Oh, for sure.
So,
but with Stroman, you had a guy who bought into the Toronto lifestyle, loved the city, fan favorite, probably one of the highest selling jerseys, if not the highest. and you traded him for, like you said, a guy that's not going to be at the level of Marcus Stroman at any point in his career. So there's that part of the rebuild which I don't necessarily agree with, because we have the prospect pool to be a successful rebuilding team. We've seen with Bo Bichette like how incredible he was
right away,
and Vladdy started coming along near the end of the season. But with these off-season moves, I'm gonna let you answer first. How do you feel about intertwining? They got Hyun-jin Ryu, and they got they got a pitcher from Japan as well. What's his name? Yamaguchi?
I actually don't remember his name, but I know he was from Japan. He had a 2.9 ERA in Japan. Japan is the second most formidable league in like when it comes to baseball. Like a lot of really successful pitchers come from there. Shohei Ohtani, Masahiro Tanaka came from there as well. So like they're really good for pitching prospects.
Yeah, it was Shun Yamaguchi.
Okay, and I think that he can turn out to be a very, very good player, especially as like a second or third starter. They signed Tanner Roark as well, and Travis Shaw.
Sorry, do you know how old Yamaguchi is?
Isn't he 29?
He's 32.
He's 32. Okay. Ooh.
So this is what I mean. So what's Ryu? 31?
Ryu's 30, I believe. I want to say... Actually, no, he's older than that. I think he's 33.
So you're throwing in... He's 32. You're throwing in a mixture of two 32-year-old pitchers who will be good. Like, I feel... Well, Ryu's the second best pitcher in his conference last year, right? Second in Cy Young voting. And Yamaguchi is a good, third guy in a rotation. Like I said, he's been put up impressive numbers in Japan, which is the second best league in the world. Obviously, Japan is not the MLB, but a guy who can put up good numbers. And you're intertwining it with guys who are up and coming. So I don't understand this blend of we want to win now players like Ryu and Yamaguchi mixed with we're going to be good in a few years with Bo Bichette and guys like Vladdy Guerrero.
What it was is I don't think the Jays expected these like prospects to be as good as they were.
Bo Bichette was like
Bo Bichette
unparalleled in MLB history.
He hit like 400 for his first month. So like it was something where I think they understand that they have these guys, and if the Jays ever want to turn around what they were, and like when we were 15, 16. We were like number 3 in attendance across the MLB. Last year we were bottom 5 in attendance, right? And you have a thing where these guys are, the ticket costs in Toronto are going up and people aren't showing up, and they're trying to overcompensate on a product that's just not very good. The Jays lost 90 plus games last year. Like no one's gonna pay.
There were some tough games. I go to a lot of Jays games.
Exactly.
There's some tough games to watch.
Exactly.
Toronto.
Like you know what I mean. Like last year was the first year I generally did not watch a baseball game on TV. I didn't watch a single one because I'm like, why would I waste 3 hours of my time just for these guys to go get slapped? Because they don't have any pitching and they're still learning. But what they wanted,
they really struggled with the relief pitchers last year.
They really, really struggled. And what this is now is that they're kind of showing like, hey, turn us on the TV, calm down here and watch a game. The prices haven't dropped and they haven't really gone up, but it's something where they now have a better product. Like, I don't think the Jays go and compete for a wild card this year.
No.
I will say
that's what I'm saying.
Straight up, the division is too hard, and the AL as a conference is too hard.
So what was the point? I mean, they're splashing on these guys that are going to hinder the progression of the rebuild. You're getting players that stunt the rebuild to a degree. Like the rebuild is going to flatline for me at this, to a little bit at this point.
I don't know. So the thing that's tough is like when it comes to baseball is like. Yeah, like the number one prospect's the number one prospect, but there's just so many rounds in baseball where you can find really, really good complementary players. And I just don't... Like the Jays, they're really great at drafting big-time players. And I think they have those big-time players. I think the Gurriel Juniors and the Hernandez and the Guerreros and the Biggios and the Bichettes, like I think they know what their core is. And I think that's why they were looking for a veteran bat like Edwin to come back, and they're looking for pitching because they think somewhere within these next 3 years they can be a team that's in a playoff position. I don't see it happening.
No?
I don't think 3 years will be enough time for us. I just think Tampa Bay has the lowest payroll in the league, and they were a playoff team, and they're a very good playoff team, and they almost won 100 games last year, or they did. The Yankees are the Yankees. They spend the most money to...
And they just made themselves even better.
Yeah, and they made themselves even better, and they just... the Yankees will just always be there.
And there's the Red Sox.
And then there's the Red Sox, who have the highest payroll in the league, but didn't make the playoffs. But
every year they're up and down. They
yeah.
go 1 year they win the World Series, then they miss the playoffs, then they can win the World Series again the next year.
Exactly. So that's the Red Sox in a nutshell. And then the only team that's ever going to be worse than us is going to be Baltimore, and Baltimore will be bad for a very long time. They don't have these A-plus prospects like we do. It's really tough. For me,
Chris Davis.
Yeah, for me, it's tough to look at the Jays and be like, yeah, we're going to be a very competitive team. I think the Jays will max out at around 500. I think that they will win.
This year?
Over the next 3 years, I think the most wins you see the
Jays. Do you think they will ever have success with the core that they have at the moment?
Absolutely. Oh, no, 100%. I think, Guerrero and Bichette especially, they're going to be MVP level players. They'll be all-star level players. I think...
MVP level?
Yeah. I think Bichette...
I think all-star level. I don't know about MVP level.
I think Bichette can be an MVP level player. He's got all the tools. I'm telling you, playing baseball, when guys are good and, you can't do anything. And just eye test, when I watch Bichette...
Well, the thing about baseball, it's you can't really refute... It's statistics.
Yeah.
It's all analytics. There's no eye test involved.
Yes.
In it, really.
Yeah,
to a large degree, it's analytics. It's not a lot about...
Yes,
the eye test.
Yes and no. When players just miss pitches and when they're on a ball. There's a lot of different factors. A lot of people that do. That
but it's stat driven.
It is very stat driven. It is. But
in other sports, in the NBA or in soccer, a guy can contribute a lot to your team, but not have the stats to showcase the contribution. In baseball, it's a little bit different. Your contribution is measured for the most.
Well,
almost
yes
always.
And no, but just like basketball, there's other stats. Do you ever look at how many players how many blocks a player gets or how many steals? You look at usually their points, assists, and rebounds.
Yeah.
Right. First, so I'm saying outside of offensive metrics, Bo Bichette would be an all-star MVP type caliber in his future. Because of the defense that he plays, he's really smart on the bases. There's a lot of things that people don't understand. He makes winning types of plays when he's on the field.
His decision making is very good.
Exactly.
Especially for a rookie. I noticed that over the course of last season.
But yeah, when it comes to, I just think they'll cap out around 500.
This year.
No, I'm saying for the next 3 years. Unless they get another free agent or someone overperforms. A pitcher overperforms, I think that they're capping out around 500 for the next couple of seasons. I just don't see them with the talent that they have compared to who else we have to face in our division kind of doing any better. And
well, this is my problem with that. We've gone out and spent a ton of money getting these two pitchers, Ryu and Yamaguchi. For what though? Just to make us more exciting for a while, because, like you said, we're not going to be a playoff team. I don't think we're going to be a playoff team for the next at least 2 seasons, probably 3 seasons. I think you're pretty much on the ball with your 500 prediction. What's the sense of integrating these win now type of guys with the young core that we're trying to build?
Well, the thing is with baseball, and it's the most common among any sport except for football, is injuries happen all the time, and your team can go in these spurts where if you miss a player for 6 weeks, you just don't win. Or a player gets really hot for 6 weeks and you win every single game. So the Jays have been notorious for that as well. The Jays have gone on these runs where they win 11 straight. The Jays won 11 straight 3 times in 1 year. So your team can get hot, and when your team gets hot, you propel yourself to a point where you look up and you're in a wild card spot, or you look up and you are top of the division. The Jays in 15 when we were kind of like hovering around a wild card spot, we were 8 back of the Yankees July 1st. We ended up winning the division, right?
Yeah.
So
I remember that.
And everyone was like, oh, the Jays will never catch the Yankees. It was an 8-game lead. In baseball, your team can get hot and the other team can just find a way to kind of not get it together. And the next thing you know, you're there. Like 2015, we were not supposed to be there. And we got hot. And the next thing you know, we add more guys in. And then we were there. And we were, you have to say World Series contender because you are in the championship game of your conference. So you are able to get hot. And that's just, like, for me, like, I think that's what they're kind of thinking. Like, if the Jays can start off well, play properly, then they can eventually get to a point where they now can go and get a marquee guy, maybe new free agent or like a rental to go help their team. And I think that's the point that the Jays are pushing towards, is that they want to make themselves more marketable. They want to make it so they don't start 10-23. Maybe they start 15-12, like something like that, where you have a positive thing going on with your team. And I think that's kind of what the Jays' vision is. I just think that they want to actually compete. They don't want to go into the season, 162 games in 179 days, and like think, oh, we're gonna lose 90 plus games this year. They know it's just bad,
Yeah.
It's not a good. It's
So
not a positive thing.
are you an advocate? Do you support the way that the Jays team is being run?
Oh,
front office wise.
This is the first year I will applaud Chaparro and Atkins, because I, like, when they came over here, I thought they were like destroying our team. Like, I literally was like, man, like, you literally are trading away these guys for absolutely nothing. And we've gone from a team that's done really well to absolutely nothing. But now I can kind of see where we are going.
You see the direction.
I see the direction we're moving in, and I think the turn now 2020. I think by the middle of the decade, we will be a very, very good ball club. In baseball, it's tricky, man. Like, it's hit or miss. Like, there are some teams that are just kind of stuck and will never get to a point where they're very good. Like the Seattle Mariners, for example, literally have never contended, like, since 2001. They have never gotten there and have, like, been number 4, number 5 in their division and signed free agents, but they've never gotten back there.
Didn't they get?
They've missed.
They got like Robinson Cano, didn't they?
They signed Robinson Cano to like a 10-year,
and he just did not perform.
Not even that, but like he had the PEDs, and Seattle then was like, yeah, like, we're just not going anywhere. Like, we're done with this. So it's a thing where, like, it's very tough to kind of understand what direction your baseball team is going towards. And I think they built the culture now where we have these young guys. Like, we have Vladdy for another 6 years. We have Bo Bichette for another 5 years, 5-6 years. So, like, it's now where you get to hold on to these all-star, I feel, MVP type players in the future.
And I think that's a good way to end off this episode. If you like the episode, make sure you give a like on YouTube. You can subscribe as well. Follow on Spotify. You can give us episode suggestions on Twitter or Instagram at AmateurPDC. On both, follow us there. And we post every single day to keep you up with the sporting world. We'll see you again tomorrow for another episode.